So I want to talk a little bit about what your background is as a musician, where you started from. Obviously, I've got your bio, so I know you were trained. It sounds like somewhat classically and in a lot of different levels. Tell me
Right.
about that kind of career and that evolution.
All right. Well, it all started. I started when I was 5 years old, playing music. My dad was a film composer. He was a musician. Kind of grew up with music in the household, so it was very. It was kind of. It was pushed upon us, but then it was just learned to love. So I've been playing piano and saxophone since I was 5 years old. Grew up, went to a special school for music in high school. Then I went to college
Okay.
and where I studied music as a studio musician. So that got to the point where you go into a recording session, they put a piece of music in front of you, and you had to play it perfect that time. It didn't matter what it was. So I learned how to be proficient that way. I ended up touring, played in a lot of bands, played in a lot of different CDs, things like that, and really just learned to love music. It then got to the point where I wanted something more. I like pressure. I like more things on my shoulders. I want to make a difference. I want to affect people's lives in a big way. I always remember as a kid, I would always run down to the movie theater with my best friend on the weekends, and we'd always watch movies. And I always watch all the credits. To this day, I sit through all the movies. I
Uh
watch all the
huh.
credits, and I was like, I want my name on that screen someday. And so after college, I told myself, I'm like, I want to do this. I want to make movies. And so I started editing. I started learning how to edit. I would sit behind people. I started internships. I really worked really hard to get to the point where I was proficient in editing. So I started my journey. I did Avid Editing, which is the software we use. I use all the different programs, but I started working on TV shows as a runner or as a coordinator, whatever job I could possibly get to kind of get my foot in the door. And once I did that, I just started editing. I was an assistant editor, grew, and now I'm to the point where I'm what they call it either a finishing editor, supervising editor, lead editor. It just kind of depends on the show. And a couple of years ago, I actually produced a feature film, and I edited that, and we did that here and everything. So it was really cool. It's kind of come full turn where I'm able to do that. And now another side of one of our businesses is I have a studio called the Den Recorders. Yeah, so that actually started about, I don't know, almost 9 years ago with a business partner of mine, Darian Cogill, that we were able to do music. So we were recording rock bands, and we started as a little boutique recording studio, and we've kind of grown and we've gotten our name out there. And it kind of all happened to, Atrium kind of all happened together. What happened was I was out there editing TV shows. We were recording music here, and it
Mm-hmm.
got to the point where I knew so many artists and so many composers, and I was in this field of television where there was such a need for music that
Uh
was of
huh.
high quality and organized well. And
Yeah.
so we ended up starting Atrium, which was a music library, which is a music library. Which, in the idea is, we're able to take the creative artists and we bridge them with the business side of the entertainment. And so we allow artists to be creative and do what they do well, and then we're able to do the business side of stuff and kind of let them thrive and actually make a living at doing what they love, which is really awesome. It's such a complicated business that that's the other thing that we do too is we like to educate our composers and our artists. And I would say probably 90% of the artists or composers that come through to us don't really understand the business the way they should. I would say people who are in the business don't understand the business the way they should. So it's very complicated. So we're here to kind of help educate, but we're also here to try to make sure that they're getting what they deserve for the work that they're actually doing,
Right.
and to protect them too, because
Right.
there's so many laws and so many regulations and those different kinds of things. It gets really really complicated. So we're able to help assist that in a really, really smooth fashion. The other side of it too is me being an editor, we actually create, and a musician, we created the library from the end user or the editor
Okay.
backwards.
I
So it's
see.
all the different things that I thought I always got frustrated with, or things that I was like, it'd be great if we did this, or if it was great if I had this. All the things that we implemented into Atrium, and then we built everything backwards. We've only been around for 3 years, so we're a new company, but that also allowed us to have a really different business model than most publishing companies. Well, everything that we do is very transparent. Any artist can see where their music's getting placed. We're not controlling their copyright, or we're
Okay.
not taking their music and retitling it and calling it something else and placing it in 14 different places. We try to keep a high-end library with high-end music that's really exclusive to what we're doing. And
Okay.
at the same time, we're also able to put are artists out there. And for instance, we have a fantastic artist named Sarah Lindsay,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just an amazing singer-songwriter. And she's been in the library from almost the beginning because she was one of my one of the people I was like, you need to be on television. You know, your music's fantastic. And so we had our library on Extreme Makeover. One of the producers called me and said, you know what, I love this artist. Who is this? I was like, her name's Sarah Lindsay. She's like, do you think she would write a song for our finale? Absolutely. And that's the other thing too, is like we really try to have close relationships with everybody in our group. And once someone becomes part of Atrium, they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of family. You know, we
Okay.
want to build those relationships. We don't just take their music and say, okay, see you, we're not going to talk to you for a couple of
Yeah.
years. You know, we're really, really involved with everybody. And it also helps too, because we'll get artists that come in here and, you know, we're not a typical recording studio where you come in, you record, and you leave. It's like
Okay.
people come here. We have a nice outdoor area with a fire pit. We throw darts. We hang out. We talk
Mm-hmm.
about life. We're creative. We jam a little bit. We do all these different things, and then we'll sit down and talk about, okay, where's your career going? What things are you guys doing to better yourselves? Have you
Sure.
guys thought about music licensing and television? You're like, no. How does that work? And so we're able to kind of take everything together. And what we always say too with all the clients that come to the Den is they're part of the Den family. And when they do shows, we help promote shows. When they need to record again, we help them do those things. We have an open door policy with everybody. It's kind of fun because some nights we'll be just hanging around the fire pit chatting, or actually we'll do a lot of work out there because it's a nice comfortable area. We have a little water fountain. It's relaxing.
Right.
People just roll up and be like, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? It's like, come hang out. I always like technical stuff. I like building things. Even when I was in college, I would build full sound systems, or even to this day, I have my own system here. We built that. We built the recording studio. We'll wire things. I've always been into computers, and so it's just been something technical. I love computers. I love being involved in coming up with new ideas. That's a lot of times what I'll do. Like right now I'm getting ready to work on a show called Big Brother. So I'll go in and we'll start building all the systems and start creating the workflows. It's like, okay, how is this going to work as smoothly as possible? So that way, when we get time to actually work on the show, it's going to be flawless.